Tsitsokgo talhtsí, kamaxanatliw papá. Semilla roja, poemas para Luno.
Red Seed, Poems for Luno.
Por Cruz Alejandra Lucas Juárez.
Translated to English by Wendy and Whitney DeVos. These dozen poems are drawn from Cruz Alejandra Lucas Juárez's 32-poem debut collection, published bilingually in Tutunakú and Spanish as Xlaktsuman Papá, Las Hijas de Luno, in 2021. Lucas Juárez creates her work bilingually in Spanish, the language in which she was formally educated, and in Tutunakú, the language in which she was raised. Tutunakú is the home language of approximately 220,000 people in the Mexican states of Puebla and Veracruz. The language has multiple variants, and Lucas Juárez seeks out speakers from different communities to expand her poetic vocabulary. Although poetry is a regular part of Tutunakú cultural life, Lucas Juárez is the first woman to publish a book of poetry in the language.
She generally begins writing her poems in Tutunakú, but lines also come to her in Spanish, so she moves back and forth between the two versions of each of her poems, creating the bilingual pair simultaneously. It's two creation processes happening at the same time, she told us during a conversation about her work. Tutunakú is an agglutinative language. It contains words up to 12 syllables long that translate into Spanish as whole phrases or even sentences. Her translation process must be letter by letter, not word by word, because each word contains so much, she says of Tutunakú. It is also a highly metaphorical language. For example, the term for being pregnant would translate directly to English as I am not alone. The phrase for my stomach is sinking, which would translate literally as I am making you grow in the visage of my stomach, means I miss you.
This book's Tutunakú title, Xlaktsuman Papá, Daughters of Luno, references the Tutunakú belief that the moon, Papá, is the metaphorical father of all women. The poet clarifies that the word papá is not a borrowing of the Spanish papá, but rather is the Tutunakú word for both moon and month. Papá, Luno, bestows on them the gift of their womanhood as regulator of the menstrual cycle. His monthly arrival is characterized as an amorous affair. The corresponding title in Spanish, Las Hijas de Luno, takes the female-gendered word for moon, luna, and changes the gender to male, Luno, to match the Tutunakú people's perception.
The first time we encountered Lucas Juárez's poems, we were both struck by the power of her voice and clarity of her vision. For Wendy, this moment occurred in September 2021, during the pandemic, when the book release for Xlaktsuman Papá, Las Hijas de Luno, was live-streamed, since so many people were unable to attend in person. Even from the vantage point of a laptop in Oaxaca, Mexico, hundreds of miles from the event location, the poet's passionate, vibrant poetics were transfixing. In July 2022, when more regular in-person cultural programming had resumed in Mexico, Whitney had the opportunity to hear Lucas Juárez read from her debut collection in person as part of an unforgettable performance with musical accompaniment held at the Los Pinos Cultural Complex in El Bosque de Chapultepec. In October of the same year, Lucas Juárez read as part of the Festival de Poesía Las Lenguas de América, Carlos Montemayor, at UNAM, at which point Whitney approached her to ask whether she would be interested in having her work appear in English translation.
We began co-translating Daughters of Luno In 2023, inspired by the depth of Lucas Juárez's poetic voice in this work, which was written when she was in her early 20s. To create our English translations, we worked primarily from the Spanish, observing and listening to audio recordings of Lucas Juárez reading her Tutunakú versions. Though neither of us has studied the language, we are both students of other lenguas originarias, First Nations languages, spoken in Mexico. Huasteca Veracruzana Náhuatl, in Whitney's case, and Dijasa, or Isthmus Zapotec, in Wendy's case. We met with Lucas Juárez in person and via video call, and also exchanged many messages with her as we revised our translations. We are grateful for her patience, generosity, and linguistic expertise, all of which have been crucial to our process.
Ti Mampapa Aktum Hashanat Shkilpin Akapun Skititi Xlaltukit Shtatsan Katisni Skatanat Shmakasiyan Kuyu Kapsnatin Dani Nalkawili Yaw Xkiltsukuti Gilatamatkan. ¿Quién es Luno? Un suspiro, labio del cielo, masa para el atole, diente de la noche, menguante garra del armadillo, página blanca para escribir el comienzo de nuestra historia.
Who is Luno? A sigh, the sky's lip, masa for mixing atole, the night's tooth, the armadillo's fading claw, a white page for writing out the opening lines of our history.
Quince xtalapashki nimpapa. Tlakmakatli mintapashkit xlakata mintalapashki ninquince. Makatunus katana, makatunu katlana. Takatsiyin pichitanak xkapinin. Chuwamaqsaqsaya xaxanatwa xtatzi. Chashli makwa ni tsuwana. Lakachanin gintlat. Kantatin kiwi. Chuwakantati xanat. Antani tlawanita aktumimasak. Mi madre es amante del Luno. Rechacé tu llegada porque eres amante de mi madre. Cada que naces y mueres, anuncias tu arribo a sus cañadas y seduces sus semillas flor. Mi padre, durante tus ausencias, sembró 4 flores y 4 árboles en el nido que construiste.
My mother is Father Moon's lover. I rejected your arrival because you are my mother's lover. With every waxing and waning, you announce your arrival in her ravine and seduce her seed-filled flower. During your absences, my father planted 4 flowers and 4 trees in the nest that you had created.
The following series of 4 dream poems narrate a girl's transition into womanhood, bestowed by the moon in Tutunakú tradition. Lucas Juárez says of Monarch, the beginning of this sexual affair with the moon, quote, Luno's arrival represents a new page in our lives.
Tamanishni Winti xkistala nimak manishnil Slip slip xmaqsqo xmakni. Muklun xmakakankalima katijinin. Chalak laqawa klixaqalilingintse. Namankiwanil. Nachakananatancho. Wan papa kstalaниman. Sueño. Soñé un cuerpo tras de mí. Su piel desnuda esparcía luz. Eran orquídeas sus palabras y bordaban mi camino. Al despertar, conté todo a mi madre y esto dijo: llegó el tiempo en que florecerás. Luno ha mirado tu caminar.
Dream. I dreamt of a body behind me, whose naked skin scattered the light, whose words were orchids embroidering my path. When I woke, I told my mother everything, and she said, "Your season is here. Luno has gazed upon your movements."
Xlimakto kmanishnil. Alimaktum kmanishnimpa. Wan papa nalkistalanil. Kamakat xkilaklakaminitansha. Xlimakwa xmakpitsinimako shanati xaaqwitinini Xlaktsuman. Kik kimakakatsal chanituk laqtachoqoma. Chalak laqawa lakumushanati ktsukulishnak. Xlakata kintsalanilin papa. Segundo sueño. En otro sueño, otra noche, Luno renunció a mis pasos. Asomaba su rostro en el borde del cielo. Repartía flores rojas al vientre de muchachas vanidosas. Sentí truenos en mi cabeza, pero no detuve mi caminar. Cuando desperté, como una flor me fui secando, porque el Luno me ha abandonado.
Another dream. In another dream, on another night, Luno cast my footsteps aside. He was peeking over the sky's edge, placing red flowers over the bellies of preening girls. Thunder rumbled in my head, but I kept on walking. Upon waking, I had dried up like a flower because Luno had left me.
Xlimaktutuk manishnil. Chali chali qalqalita wilana katiswan. Kiaqpishtin katisni kan talaqchoqoyik kachikin. Tankschi naktatalaqanoqlan papa. Chani aktsukin talakasuyuni. Pok kawanih katihinin. Kmakasitsinitin papa washliwankan kintalaqatsiaqnima. Niki mashkiputunin tuklakaskima. Cha katsinkitimpi kani makas naminin tlawayishmasak kxpajun kintamputsni. Katsiyimpi nakimputsapala. Katsiyimpi nikatimashnakalin kilatamat. Xlakata liwalash nkiaqchuchustap. Wa litasantikanin papa wanin kinana chunkintse. Tercer sueño. Después de cada sol espero que anochezca. Me abraza la noche y voy a recorrer el pueblo. Quizá en una de estas andanzas, Luno baile con mi rostro, pero no puedo ver su redondez. La neblina ha cegado el camino. Hice enojar a Luno y huye de mí. No quiere darme lo que ando buscando. pero sé que pronto hará su nido bajo mi ombligo, vendrá a buscarme de nuevo, no dejará que se marchite mi tiempo, y para su regreso prepararé frijoles de olla. Esta receta de madre y abuela nunca falla para invocar al Luno.
Dream 3. After each sun, I wait for dusk's arrival. Night pulls me close, and I'll take a walk through town. Maybe on one of these walks, Luno will dance with my shadow. But I can't make out his roundness. The fog blocks the path. I made Luno angry, and he's run off without me, not wanting to give me what I seek. But I know he'll soon nest beneath my navel. He'll come looking for me again. He won't let my time wither away. And as I await his return, I'll put frijoles de olla on the stove, the same recipe as my mother and her mother. It has never failed to summon Luno.
Xlimaktati kmanishnil. Kosna mapa. Ktsala ni mapa pa. Lakum kasiyak piko mapa. Nik ka kosnatli giwanin gimbulakni. Makkatsi putuni shlawan. Shatsitsi shmakashkanati papa. Kshkilni. Wacha maktuma klita makamastanil. Chu akatunus katanat wan papa. Min kimakamashkiyi Tsitsokgo talhtsí. Cuarto sueño. Corro de nuevo, huyo de mi cuerpo y regreso a mi primer miedo. Mi vientre grita que no lo abandone. Ansía esa luz blanca sobre su boca. Le entrego mi ser mujer y desde entonces, en cada tierna sombra, Luno viene a cosechar su roja semilla en mis entrañas.
Dream 4. Once again, I'm on the run. I flee my body and return to my oldest fear. My womb cries out, "Do not abandon me," craves that white light at its opening. I offer up my woman being, and afterwards, in each tender shadow, Luno comes to reap his red seed from my bowels.
The following 3 Nana Tsivita poems serve as homage to the midwife who welcomed Lucas Juárez and 6 of her siblings into the world. Her youngest sibling was born in a hospital without the support of Nana Tsivita's traditional healing.
Nana Tsivita Xlimaktum. Lakumu lakukako laktsuchichak, la angilwantasaniko yisin. Nanash kinkakukayani kshashanuatu akstipun. Chala ngakuwa aktsus katashakwanit. Kintili makashapamili shatuwani shkulimashanat. Kamachishwan giniltukit. Shtakasluta wilayi shla la shlakpimini chini. Shan pushkata shaksawat. Stikiki shta aksputta wilapalanchu kastin. Kata tantliti la shchuchuti washtasiyu. Slip shla shatitsokgo shlitampachi. Shlakpuwangoyi lakstakninki wanchiwish. Shalakspunpulu shtantun. Shtantutsuk koyin dani shtantupankonit. Kashak kalkalita wilankitinchu. Shakliqot nambutuna shlistak na shtakayaw. Nana Tsivita 1. Me arrullaba en su floreada espalda, tal como las ranas se montan una a otra, cuando a gritos invocan a la lluvia de mayo. Cuando era retoño de orquídea blanca, machacó hojas de luna en el rostro de mis pétalos, para que mi atole fuese el más rico. Con su cántaro 3 orejas, bajaba por agua al primer parpadeo del sol, para luego subir por la montaña. Parecía bailar con el agua al compás de su roja cadera. Piedras verdes anhelaban ser acariciadas por sus pies desnudos. Guardaban besos en las fisuras de sus talones. Y yo la esperaba para beber el corazón de Xlaktsuman.
Nana Tsivita 1. She lulled me to sleep on her flowered shoulders, just like frogs carry their young, bringing maize rains with their croaking. When the white orchids sprouted, she crushed moon-white leaves on the petals of my hands, so my atole would be the sweetest. With her 3-eared jug, she went down to the river at the sun's first glimmer. Later, while climbing the mountain, she seemed to dance with the water to the rhythm of her red hips. Green rocks longed to be caressed by her bare feet, holding kisses in the cracks of her heels, as I waited to drink from the heart of Tsitsokgo Mountain.
Nana Tsivita 2. Xtsukush kuliyish ashkut lashkshakanin ginchikan xtsukun chuwani momo lashkinkama katsini putunanin tunitlan xwanin pini tlani liqamanankan chuchut xlakata natiyan yakpunkan nakinkama qalkuyatlayan chuwalaktsu natlawayi xmasaqa gindalakapastaknikan. Kinkama siyunin lala tasantikanin papa. Lala nagtapa chiyawi xchamak xkulit xalaqtsitsaqa nginchixitkan. Nana Tsivita 2. Respondía ella con un tabaco entre sus labios, cuando a espaldas de la casa empezaba a ulular el búho, queriendo atraer nuestra desdicha. Prohibía jugar con el agua, porque podría adueñarse de nuestro espíritu, incendiarnos por dentro y despedazar el nido de nuestra memoria. Ella nos enseñó a coquetear con Luno y a capturar el arco iris en la negrura de nuestras cascadas.
Nana Tsivita 2. When the owl behind the house began its hooting, trying to bring us misfortune, she replied, with tobacco between her lips. She forbade us to play with water, because it had the power to possess us, scalding us from within and wrecking the nest of our memory. She showed us how to flirt with Luno and how to trap rainbows in the dark black of our cascading braids.
In Nana Tsivita 3, the term kushta refers to a companion animal that is also understood to be part of its human counterpart. The animal is born at the same time as the human, and they will also die together. That is, if the animal kushta is killed, their human will also die. Lucas Juárez has described the kushta alternatively as mi otro ser yo, my other I being, and as nuestro hermano animal, nuestro alma animal, our sibling animal, our soul animal. Humans are born not knowing who or what exactly their animal is. However, the wisest members of the community can come to know their kushta and even take its form.
Nanatsibita 3. Wapi nal katilaqanaqalli Xlaktsuman. Wapi namakashtaka shaqsawat. Chuwa nakinkamaaqalputiniyan. Ti natlawayixtaskuhut. Ti nalaqamaqaqlayini tlan'un. Ti namalaqawiti mumu. Chuwa ti nakinkali shaqatliyani papa. Ti natlawayi xtihin kinkuxtakan. Ti naxaqatliyin tsaqlni. Chuwa ti nakinkali laqmaxtuyanin toqxiwa. La natiyayin ki akpunkan. Wax palakata kakatsinima. Kmaqastakmawi aqatunun talakapastakni. Kmaqtaya ni namaqmixikilkuyat. Chuwa lakxtum kmaqsqalayawin pi nataspit palaqoyin kinkuxtakan. Kaqspun tlawani xtantunin. Tlaqchi pulman natalkatawilaqo. Chuwanichi xapamaqolli ni tlan'un. Nanatsibita 3. Si ella deja de atizar el fuego, si abandona el cántaro y nos deja con la sed en la lengua, ¿quién hará su trabajo? ¿Quién espantará el rostro del mal aire? ¿Quién desmayará al búho y hablará de la luna? ¿Quién hará el camino de nuestra mosca? ¿Quién les hablará a las gotas y nos liberará con hojas de sauco cuando tome nuestro espíritu? Por eso aprendo de ella, cosecho con ella cada pensamiento, le ayudo a mantener la llama del fogón, y juntas aseguramos el regreso de nuestra mosca. Camino sobre sus pasos para remarcar sus huellas, y que ningún viento las desvanezca.
Nanatsibita 3. If she stops feeding the fire, if she abandons the water jug and leaves us with thirsty tongues, who will do her work? Who will scare away evil spirits? Who will silence the owl and tell us about the moon? Who will make the journey to know their kushta? Who will speak with the raindrops and cure us with elderberry leaves to liberate our spirits? This is why I learn from her, harvest each thought with her, help her stoke the cooking fire, and together we ensure our kushta's return. I walk in her footsteps to deepen her footprints, so the wind will never erase them.
Tutunakú is the Tutunakú people's name for themselves. The word translates as people who belong to the culture of the three hearts, in reference to the brain, memory, the heart, physical life, and the stomach, emotional experience. Together, these three interdependent hearts sustain Tutunakú triple consciousness. The poet explains, it is a three-strand braid that can't be separated. Li, the word's first syllable, refers to a Tutunakú person's home place, which is central to identity.
Li Tutunakú. Nina puskat shakwan. Nina aqaltum shakchuwinan. Shaqoq shwata shwanitin kintalakapastakni. Qasiyaha la nina shakqalpaqosqoyin kintapikwa. Nina shaklaqapasa shtatantlini hili. Nina shakmaqkatsiy ilkuyat. Chuwanina xaktalalaka okxitlan kiltamaku. Li Tutunakú ja xakwanit. Ni nala xaktlawan ni para xakaltujak xamonkawan tiyat. Tipa tututa xtliyin kilistakni. Kakuwa tangala xaktlawan. Aqtututan kiti xakqatlin kintapuan. Maski nina xaktakmnu, xqosnan tapuliqoya, tantutun kinkuxta, unu, dani ananqoyin tsinkalapatus, xtatlawani kinsetere. Nina xaklaqapasan kilakan, maqtututan tlaqpixlanka xaklakapastak, chu xakxeqnan. Li Tutunakú ja xakwanit. Li Tutunakú. Antes de ser mujer, sin apenas pronunciar mi primera palabra, ya era trenza mi pensamiento. Antes de cruzar las fronteras de mis miedos, de admirar la danza del trueno, de sentir la primera caricia del fuego y de cruzar la mirada con el tiempo, ya era un ser Tutunakú. Antes de mirar y caer sobre la tierra húmeda, ya solfeaba mi corazón en 3 tonos. Cuando mis pasos aún eran torpes, poseía ya 3 conciencias. Mucho antes de mi bautizo, mis 3 nahuales corrían ya en esta tierra de orquídeas, bordado de mamatere. Antes de conocer mi rostro, ya pensaba y gritaba con triple intensidad. Ya era Tutunakú.
Li Tutunakú. Before I was a woman, even before I uttered my first words, my thought was already a braid. Before crossing the borders of my fears, before contemplating the thunder's dance, before feeling my first lick of fire, and before catching time's eye, already I was a Tutunakú being. Before learning to walk, and before I'd fallen upon the wet earth, already my heart hummed in 3 tones. Even when my steps were still clumsy, already I contained 3 consciousnesses. Long before my baptism, my 3 nahuals already ran through this land of orchids, embroidered by Mama Tere. Before others even came to see my face, already I was thinking and shouting with a 3-fold force. Already I was Tutunakú.
Tansulut bird is named for a bird common in the Tutunakú home region, the mountains of Puebla, Mexico. It is also considered to be a guardian of wisdom and a messenger bird. According to Tutunakú legend, the Tansulut brought light to the land by rolling away the stone that blocked the sun. The sun egg in the poem refers to a Tutunakú origin story for the sun, in which a woman gave birth to the sun after eating a special egg.
Tansulut. Akshni mapakuwiqoni la shaktalaliyamakon. Wa mintasqawi mpi maqtayaqo laktishkuwin. La ndimapanuniqo shiwishinchini dani chali shmini mpatsitsiwani sluluk. Uymash qalwatinchini qashmatli mintatlin. Pikwal maqattapili'al. Laqatishkuwili shamaq laqawitinan tatlin. Nitu at tipatush tananamin tatlin. Kinkali makatsiniak shakan kalama. Pikwa kakachina chimpalangin tlat. Pikwa kawindani tamakostayal. Pikwa katanulin tantumishalukuluwak chiki. Kakataks ni putunan siya takaltsek ni spoon. Ni tlawanita mimasak kamputuni mintali loktat. Du ni amakstum kalwanan koyi lakshishkuwen. Pájaro Tanzulut. Tu nombre se originó entre apedreos. Fue tu pago por socorrer a los hombres, por quitar la piedra corazón del sol, donde todos los días la lagartija calentaba su vientre. El huevo del sol escuchó tu canto y horrorizado rodó monte abajo, obedeciendo esa hipnotizante melodía. Tu canto tan inconfundible nos advierte posando en el chalahuite. ¿Acaso papá llegará borracho de nuevo? ¿Cayó en algún peñasco? ¿Entró una serpiente venenosa en la casa? Quiero leerte, pájaro mensajero, ¿dónde tienes tu nido para beber de tu sabiduría, jamás probada por los hombres?
Tanzulut bird. Your name emerged as they stoned you, your reward for rescuing men, for moving the stone that blocked the sun, where the lizard warmed his belly. The sun egg heard your song and rolled down the hill aghast, following that hypnotic melody. Perched in the chalawiti tree, you warned us with your signature song. Maybe Papa will come home drunk again? Has he fallen into the canyon? Is there a poisonous snake in the house? I want to devour your knowledge, messenger bird, at home in your nest, to drink of your wisdom, not yet tasted by men.
The Voice of the Buried was the first poem Lucas Juárez completed, by which she means finished in both Tutunakú and Spanish, and also published when she was 19 years old.
Xtachuinin ti aknu. Xtachuinin ti aknu. Xtachuna aktumi tlangalikan. Kantumin tangashekan ima stuhuastak. Aktumin tamakstumi ti xatlakwanin dakilkaksat. Wa aktumin tapikwa nima makatatatlangilistakna. Xtachuinin ti aknu wa xtatsingsi ti anima. Wa nima lakpuani xalakmuksunin talakapastakni. Xtachuinin ti aknu man xtakanin kaliuninin kaxmatkoy. Xtachatin duwan chushanat. Xtachuinin ti aknu wan da shek na tinima ntala kashik sakalina di makilkak saputun. Xtachuini limashkan na wan gila kimakanini shalakakiwin makashkakanati gintalitsinat chuwa tlaknani gintachuin. Xtachuini limashkan wan da tsokni nima Ngosta wakak xlaqstipa ninin buklni. Waniman da tsekak xqalni inteja xlatiyat. Xtachuini limashkan kitaxla. Tsumati intitliyi xatutunaku xuwas napapatlakanan. Napultakichi xtachuinkani litutunaku. La voz del enterrado. La voz del enterrado es un arma divina, una raíz que emerge erguida, bandada de silencio cansado, miedo anclado en el centro del corazón. La voz del enterrado es esa hambre profunda del alma que ansía los frutos melifluos de las fragantes memorias. Es esa voz escuchada por los oídos del viento, resina de hojas y flores humeantes. La voz del enterrado es ese susurro sonoro que se lanza contra las rocas, resistiéndose a desaparecer. La voz del enterrado es también la mía, mis manos de campesina, mi sonrisa de alba y mi voz de guitarra. La voz del enterrado es esa palabra que se difunde entre las nubes, aquella que se camufla sobre las tejas de barro. La voz del enterrado soy yo misma, la niña que canta en Tutunakú y viste color blanco, para germinar la lengua de los Tutunakú.
The Voice of the Buried. The voice of the buried is a divine weapon, a root that grows straight, flock of tired silence, fear anchored in the heart's center. The voice of the buried is the soul's deep hunger, craving scented memories, sweet fruits. It is that voice heard by the wind, resin of moist flowers and leaves. The voice of the buried is that melodious murmur that dashes itself against the rocks and refuses to disappear. The voice of the buried is also my voice, my campesina hands, my daybreak smile, and guitar voice. The voice of the buried is that word spreading among the clouds, the one hiding itself among clay roof tiles. The voice of the buried is in fact me, the girl who sings in Tutunakú and dresses all in white, planting the language of the Tutunakú.
We would like to thank the editors who published several of these translations previously. Who is Luno? My Mother is Father Moon's Lover, and Nana Tsivita 1, 2, and 3 all appeared in trilingual form in World Literature Today in the September-October 2023 issue, both in print and online, and were later republished in Latin American Literature Today in December 2023. Li Tutunakú, Tansulutbird, and The Voice of the Buried appeared in trilingual form in The Common online in April 2025.
The Tutunakú and Spanish originals of these poems were published by the Universidad de las Américas Puebla in 2021. A trilingual edition was published in the United States by Cardboard House Press in 2026. The poet and translators would like to thank LEMI, the Laboratorio de Educación y Mediación Intercultural, for making this audiobook possible.
This recording was completed in November 2025 at the Universidad Autónoma de Querétaro.
Primera edición en Libros Sonoro 2026. Este libro sonoro es una producción original del sello editorial Biblioteca LEMI, del Laboratorio de Educación y Mediación Intercultural, realizada en colaboración con su autora y traductoras. Texto original y lectura en Tutunakú y español, Cruz Alejandra Lucas Juárez. Traducción y lectura en inglés, Wendy y Whitney DeVos. Edición, mezcla y diseño sonoro, Samuel Rosas. Grabación, Alberto Novoa y Lluvia Nice. Este material se comparte bajo la licencia de Creative Commons que permite el uso sin fines comerciales, reconocimiento de autoría y licencia bajo los mismos términos.